Regis divorce, a Regis bankruptcy, and a Regis personal injury claim have in common? Regis lawyers. Lawyers who care. Convenient, affordable, respectful, and experienced. We work 100% for the 99%. Over 20 years, we've helped thousands throughout the Hudson Valley, New York City, and Long Island. For a free consultation with an experienced attorney, call or text us at 212-766-1100. Y sí, hablamos español.
Welcome to Millennium TV 24 News. I am Kim Seabrook and I want to thank you for taking a good look in the news with me today. And as always, you know what we have to start off with. What's going on right here in New York City? So there's not going to be no New York evictions. Moratorium won't lead to a homeless tsunami. For millions of New York tenants are at risk of losing their homes, or so warn activist groups regarding the impending demise of the Empire State's eviction moratorium. This despite the $2 billion in aid Washington sent our way to make sure that the exact thing doesn't happen. So the money housing advocates insist, and it won't prevent a mass eviction crisis unless lawmakers extend the moratorium. This is unfounded hysteria. There's no doubt that there will be hardship cases in the aftermath of COVID-19 lockdowns. But predictions from the likes of Housing for All of total chaos and a wave of evictions aren't likely to come true. That's because tenant advocates fundamentally misunderstand how the landlord business really works. So, property owners are likely to evict only as a last resort. The reason is basic. An owner can't be sure of finding a replacement. For owners who rely on rental income to maintain their buildings and pay their own bills, think here of the hundreds of thousands of mom and pop landlords. A vacant unit is their biggest fear. And the housing market's prospects look uncertain from landlords' perspective. It's true that Gotham is slowly coming back to life, but there is simply no way to know how many residents have left permanently. And there is no reason to assume that the small property owners have that whip hand and can dictate prices. The implicit assumption of the misguided rent stabilization law that has distorted the city's housing market for so long. Assumptions that rent will always rise are no truer than the assumption that home prices would always go up before they came tumbling down in 2008. So the owners owed back rent by tenants who qualify for the COVID-related relief would be foolish not to wait for the wheels of bureaucracy to finally start to grind and for tenants to get what the state has promised. Eviction will let tenants who owe back rents off the hook. For their part, tenants who have the means should want to pay, if only to protect their credit ratings. The state does need to make the assistance process far easier. The tenant applications require a range of documents to be uploaded, including financial information from the landlord. Of course, that's all require good broadband access, just as remote schooling did. And Governor Andrew Cuomo on Monday claimed he gotten this fix. As we try to make sense of the many COVID-related emergency measures, it's well worth asking why the eviction ban has gone on for so long and why it was promulgated by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention in the first place. There was an article I found and I had to say this, and that is a very good question. Why was the CDC the one in charge of putting this together? But let's move on. Talking about CDC, I wanted to go into this. They changed the mask guidelines for school. What you need to know is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which again is the CDC, has reversed its guidance on mask wearing for fully vaccinated people, including a recommendation that all teachers and students should wear a face mask indoors, regardless of vaccination status. The CDC cited new information about the risk posed by the Delta variant of the coronavirus, which can spread among vaccinated people. So it now recommends universal indoor masking for all teachers, staff, students, and visitors to K-12 schools, even if they are fully vaccinated. It added that children should still return to full-time in-person learning in the fall, but with layered prevention strategies that will be in place. New York City Public Schools will continue to require face masks when kids return to class for the 21-22 school year. And as the City Department of Education announced in May, masks will be required in public schools when students return to campus in September. DOE spokesperson Daniela Filson, she stated that on Tuesday. She also added that the DOE will continue to closely follow the guidance of our health and medical experts. All I can say is that I'm happy that I have a 22-year-old and does not have to experience this, to be in school all day with a mask. Hopefully the ACs are working properly and everything is going the way it needs to function for the kids to feel comfortable. But next, what we have is New York City is promising expanded special educational services after school and on Saturdays. Here's some good information for you. So here's what we need to know. The city plans to focus on therapies and literacy support. When the pandemic hit, many services became difficult or impossible to deliver. That's including counseling, speech, physical, and occupational therapies. These services will be available to students during the after-school and Saturday sessions. Officials stated that in addition, students will receive small group instruction that will focus on literacy interventions. Every school will provide expanded services. The vast majority of the city's $251 million in additional spending on special education this year will flow to school budgets to provide services outside the traditional school day, with principals scheduling times that work well for their families. Now, the program won't launch on the first day of school. The school year is slated to begin September 13th, but the after-school and Saturday services for students with disabilities will begin in October or early November. Next, families won't have to sign up, but it's unclear how schools will identify students for extra support. Good question, right? Any student with an individualized education program is eligible and families won't need to sign up. But schools will contact families and notify them about available programming, officials said. However, the approach means that families won't be required to get in touch with their school to access services. But here's the thing. It also raises questions about how schools will make decisions about which student needs the extra help and what specific services to provide. Advocates also raise concerns about whether the city would actually communicate effectively with the families, especially those who don't speak English, and whether services will even be provided in a student's native language. This is one of those examples where the idea is really sound, but the implementation raises a lot of logistical questions. So I guess there's some things to work on. So next is, how often will the services be provided and how would they be staffed? Educational officials indicated that the programming will be provided by teachers at each student school. Still, some advocates said that there are often shortages of therapists and principals. They said it might be difficult to recruit educators to work overtime, especially after more than a year of the pandemic teaching that has burned out many teachers. So how individualized will the programming be? So officials said that the afternoon and Saturday programming offered to students will be based on the consideration of their individual needs, including their experiences during the pandemic. Next, will students get transportation? City officials did not respond to questions about that and whether they will provide transportation or not after school or on Saturdays for students who need it. But they did say that the educational department did not initially offer round-trip transportation options for summer school among students who typically require it during the school year, but eventually promised to reimburse taxi services. So that's just some more information on what's going on for special education, the summer school and the after-school, Saturday and after-school programs. Next, we have, as states begin to release the test scores, how did the students fare amid the pandemic? 2 new studies have found that while all students are behind in learning due to the coronavirus, the pandemic, and the most vulnerable students are showing that the steepest drop. Research shows that students didn't just experience setbacks early on, but they accumulated over time. So what happens is that those setbacks, they continued even after many students returned for in-person learning in the spring. Of course, you haven't been in school, you've been on the computers all day, and your patience and your even just paying attention, your attention span with that. So, but let's move forward, right? The results of the two reports show that racial and socioeconomic inequities have gotten worse during the pandemic. The media outlet have reported that the NWEA report used data from about 5.5 million public school students in 3rd through 8th grade who took the organization test during the 2021 school year. It then compared their performance to similar students in 2019. According to the NWEA report, Latino 3rd graders in math performed 17 percentile points lower in spring of 2021 compared to the typical achievement in spring of 2019. That decline was 15 percentile points for Black students and 14 for Native students. Asian and white students also performed lower compared with similar students in 2019 at 9 percentile points each. By the end of the last school year, students were on average 4 to 5 months behind where similar students were in the past. Students who attended schools that were majority Black or Hispanic were 6 months behind in math compared to the 4 months for white students. And students who attended a low-income school were 7 months behind in math compared to the 4 months for schools with families who had higher incomes. So recommendations to help these students include hiring more tutors and specialists to create personalized learning plans for each student. I have to just say that because when you have a smaller group setting and you are able to do a one-on-one, the student definitely learns better. But I know it's just difficult with lack of staff and everything that's going on. But it definitely makes a big difference when you have a smaller environment and able to accommodate one-on-one. But it comes at a price, as I say, right? As research from Georgia State University estimates that tutoring will cost as much as $3,800 a year per student. So that's what raises a problem. And next, we're going to go outside of New York. 2 Colorado officers arrested after one hit suspect with gun chokes him. A Colorado police officer has been arrested after the video showed him using his pistol to beat a man he was trying to take into custody, choking him and threatening to kill him, while another officer was accused of failing to stop her colleague as required by a new police accountability law that passed during racial injustice protests last year. Body camera footage was released Tuesday of the arrest in the Denver suburb of Aurora, whose police department has been plagued by allegations of misconduct in the most recent years, including the 2019 death of Elijah McClain, a 23-year-old Black man who was put into a neck hold. In the last confrontation, which came as the officers responded to a trespassing report Friday, the man repeatedly said, "You're killing me, bro," as Aurora officer John Horbert held him down and struck him, the video showed. "If you move, I will shoot you," Horbert said. That's what the officer says repeatedly. "Stop fighting," as the man cries and gasps for air. Video also shows Horbert yelling at him to roll over on his stomach and show his hands, which he does. He also, the guy states that I need water, and cries at the end. He did not suffer serious injury, but was taken to a hospital for welts and a cut on his head that requires 6 stitches. Authorities didn't say if he will face charges for an outstanding warrant on a probation violation. It is not clear what race or ethnicity he identifies as, but he appears to be in the video to be a person, what else, of color. Aurora Police Chief Vanessa Wilson did call the arrest a very despicable act at a press conference this past Tuesday. "We're disgusted, we're angry," said Wilson, who took over the department just last year. "This is not police work. We don't train like this." Horbert is under investigation on suspicion of attempted first-degree assault, second-degree assault, and a felony menacing, according to arrest warrant affidavits. Both officers turned themselves in. Well, what we're going to do is go into a commercial break. I'm Kim Seabrook. You're watching Millennium TV 24 on the Good Looking News. We'll be right back.
What does a Regis divorce, a Regis bankruptcy, What does a Regis divorce, a Regis bankruptcy, and a Regis personal injury claim have in common? Regis lawyers. Lawyers who care. Convenient, affordable, respectful, and experienced. We work 100% for the 99%. Over 20 years, we've helped thousands throughout the Hudson Valley, New York City, and Long Island. For a free consultation with an experienced attorney, call or text us at 212-766-1100. Y sí, hablamos español.
Millennium TV, bridging. Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
And welcome back to Good Looking News on Millennium TV 24. So we'll continue. Next, we have a man was sentenced to life in prison for killing a college student who mistook his car for an Uber. This is so scary. So many people are taking Ubers, especially women. This is a really scary story. So a South Carolina man was sentenced to life in prison Tuesday for the 2019 abduction and murder of a 21-year-old college student who mistook his car for her Uber ride. The jury took a little more than an hour to find Nathaniel Rowland guilty of killing Samantha Josephson, who was a University of South Carolina student. She disappeared from Columbia's Five Points Entertainment District in March of 2019. The student from Robbinsville, New Jersey, she got into Rowland's car thinking it was an Uber ride that would take her back to her apartment, prosecutor said. Instead, she found herself trapped because Rowland had the childproof locks on, investigators stated. She was never seen alive again. Covered in roughly 120 stab wounds, her body was later found in remote woods about 65 miles from Columbia. The death cast a national spotlight on ride-hailing safety and led to some changes, including more prominent displays of driver's license plates. Yes, please, especially the ladies and young ones who are going into these cars, pay attention to the license plate. I'm not even gonna lie. There has been times where I thought another car was an Uber and it wasn't. Didn't get into it, but you attempt to. So please pay attention. They have the license plates. Make sure the driver knows your name, etc., etc. And next we have, what do we have? In Miami, a man was arrested and held on 21 narcotic charges. On July 19th, Monterey Deputy L. Dominguez of the Hendry County Sheriff's Office was arrested a 29-year-old Leonardo Brum Almeida for an outstanding warrant stemming from an HCSO Vice Narcotics Unit investigation, which began on April 6th. On April 6th, it was reported to the Sheriff's Office that the Narcotics Unit that the employees with Glaze Electric discovered that the electrical meter had been tampered with at Almeida's residence. Observations at the residence indicated that the residence was being used to cultivate marijuana. Almeida was seen quickly loading items into the trunk of his vehicle and leaving the property prior to the arrival of Sheriff's Office personnel. Deputies were able to locate Almeida after he left his residence and conducted a traffic stop. A probable cause search of the vehicle disclosed approximately 20 pounds of marijuana, approximately 20 grams of cocaine, and 2,262 pills later identified as ecstasy. During the arrest, Almeida was charged with trafficking methamphetamine, trafficking marijuana, possession of cocaine with intent to sell, and cocaine possession charges. Also inside the residence was a large amount of ecstasy, MDMA, cocaine, and other substance suspected to be used as a cutting agent for MDMA. It was clear to investigators that the property was being used for the sole purpose of manufacturing and trafficking illicit narcotics. And next, a two-time Olympic medalist was jailed for 25 years of trying to smuggle $152 million worth of cocaine. So an Olympic kayaker has been jailed for 25 years for trying to smuggle, as I stated, $152 million worth of cocaine into Australia. Nathan Bagley, who won 2 silver medals at the 2004 Athens Olympics, was arrested in 2018 alongside his brother Drew after Drew and another man, Anthony Draper, was spotted in a boat collecting 650 kilograms of cocaine from a foreign ship off the coast of New South Wales. Nathan had helped purchase the boat and had planned to meet the pair at a boat ramp and store the drugs. 30 packages would have been thrown overboard by Drew and Draper during a dramatic police chase was recovered by the Navy, while others washed ashore at various locations on the east coast of Australia. The parcels collectively contained 512 kilograms of pure cocaine, held within 650 kilograms of white powder, with an approximate street value of $152 million. The Bagley brothers had denied trying to import the drugs. Drew had claimed he thought he was collecting tobacco, not cocaine. Okay, and that he had been kidnapped by Draper and coerced into helping him. Wow. Nathan, however, said instead he was recruited by Drew to drive the boat and had been told we were going to use it to pick up marijuana. Both were found guilty at Brisbane Supreme Court in April. At the Supreme Court on Tuesday, Justice Ann Lyons sentenced Nathan to 25 years in jail with a non-parole period of 16 years. Drew received a 28-year jail term with a non-parole period of 16 years. Lyons describes Drew, 39, as the principal organizer of the plot, but declared that Nathan, 45, was actively involved and was set to be rewarded generously for his role. Their motivation was purely for the financial gain, she stated. Both Nathan and Drew Bagley have a long history of drug offenses. In 2007, the brothers were arrested for manufacturing and trafficking ecstasy tablets. As a result, Nathan was handed a 9-year prison sentence with a non-parole period of 5 years. In 2013, 2 years after being released, Nathan was then arrested and charged with manufacturing and attempting to import hallucinogenic drugs. He was later sentenced to 2 years and 3 months in prison. And next, in the Supreme Court, the approval drops to the lowest point in 4 years. Americans approve of the highest court's performance, the lowest rating since 2017, according to the Gallup. The rating is a 9% drop from just last year, when 58% of Americans approved to the court. Meanwhile, 44% disapprove of the job of the court is doing, while 7% gave no opinion. That's according to the Gallup. The poll was conducted between July 6th to July 21st among 1,007 adults, has a plus 4% margin of error. The mix of rulings may have helped keep Republicans from viewing the court as a conservative ally or Democrats from perceiving it as too ideological extreme. The court has issued a series of rulings recently, such as ruling in favor of a teen who cursed online and was suspended from her cheerleading team, and tossing out an appeal to overturn a lower court's decision allowing a transgender student to use the bathroom that corresponds to their gender identity. So in a win for Republicans, the court also upheld Arizona's ban on ballot harvesting. While Republicans applauded the ruling, President Joe Biden condemned the decision and claimed that the ruling did severe damage to the Voting Rights Act. And that's politics for you. And we'll have another story where both Democrats and Republicans gave the Supreme Court a 51% approval rating, which Gallup Senator editor Jeffrey M. Jones attributed to the fact that the High Court has handed down rulings that have alternatively pleased and frustrated both sides of the ideological spectrum. In German, court dismisses banker's appeal in tax evasion case. Germany's top court on Wednesday dismissed an appeal by 2 British bankers over their conviction in a massive tax evasion case, confirming that the so-called cum-ex transactions they used were illegal. The Federal Court of Justice also confirmed that the seizure of $14 million from one of the defendants and about 167 million euros from Hamburg-based private bank M.M. Warburg was justified. The ruling set a key precedent for the future trials in the cum-ex scandal involving hundreds of suspects. The 2 British bankers were convicted last year of multiple counts of tax evasion between 2007 and 2011. They were given suspended sentences after agreeing to provide detailed information about the fraud scheme in which participants swapped shares to collect reimbursement for taxes that they hadn't paid. The defendants had claimed during their trial that they had simply used a loophole in the law. But federal judges concluded that the scheme was illegal and there was no doubt that the actions had been premeditated. The court stated that in a statement, and Warburg said that the verdict would have no economic consequences for the bank. The ruling is likely to have an impact on further trials. Hundreds of bankers allegedly were involved in the scheme and reportedly defrauded taxpayers of billions of euros. And we got one more story before we go into break. Rescuers search for 5 missing workers at German blast site. And rescue teams in Western Germany searched for 5 missing workers Wednesday at an industrial park for chemical companies a day after an explosion killed at least 2 people and injured 31 others. The Tuesday explosion at the waste management facility of the Chem Park site sent a large black cloud of smoke into the air and ignited a fire that took firefighters almost 4 hours to extinguish. The industrial park is located in the city of Leverkusen near Cologne, and the CEO of Carenta, which operates the Chem Park Industrial Park, said that there was little hope for the 5 missing workers, 4 Carenta employees and 1 outside contractor. We have to assume that the missing people can no longer be found alive, Frank Hammerser told us. And they also stated that of the 31 injured, 1 person was still in a life-threatening condition. Police said Wednesday that the investigations into the cause of the explosion would begin Thursday. The German news agency reported so far it appeared that the blast was linked to storage tanks filled with solvents. Due to the thick smoke, authorities told residents Tuesday to stay indoors and shut down several major highways for 4 hours. City officials also warned people not to let children play outside, use outside pools, or even eat fruit and vegetables from their backyards for the next few days. That's extreme. The environmental authority for the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, where Lucas is located, said Wednesday that the explosion smoke contained dioxin, polychlorinated biphenyl, and furan compounds. However, it could not yet say how strong the concentration of these chemicals were. So Leverkusen is home to Bayer, one of Germany's biggest chemical companies and one of the biggest employers in the region. The city has about 163,000 residents, many of whom work for Bayer. The industrial park is located close to the Rhine River. And what we're going to do is go into a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. I'm Kim Seabrook on Millennium TV 24.
What does a Regis divorce, a Regis bankruptcy, and a Regis personal injury claim have in common? Regis lawyers. Lawyers who care. Convenient, affordable, respectful, and experienced. We work 100% for the 99%. Over 20 years, we've helped thousands throughout the Hudson Valley, New York City, and Long Island. For a free consultation with an experienced attorney, call or text us at 212-766-1100. Y sí, hablamos español.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
And welcome back into a good look in news on Millennium TV 24. Next, we have a simple step that can thwart top phone hackers. You know, there's been a lot of hacking going on, especially on these devices. I can talk about some stories, but we're going to get into this story. So, as a member of the Secretive Senate Intelligence Committee, Senator Angus King has reason to worry about hackers, as we all do. At a briefing by security staff this year, he said he got some advice on how to help keep his cell phone secure. Step 1, turn off your phone. Step 2, turn it back on. That's it. At a time of widespread digital insecurity, it turns out that the oldest and simplest computer fix there is is turning a device off and then turning it back on. That can actually thwart hackers from stealing information from your smartphones. Regularly rebooting your phones won't stop the army of cyber criminals or spy for hire firms that have sowed chaos and doubt about the ability to keep any information safe and private in our digital lives. But it can make even the most sophisticated hackers work harder to maintain access and steal data from a phone. This is all about imposing cost on these malicious actors, said Neil Ziring, the technical director of the National Securities Agency, Cybersecurity Directorate. And the NSA issued a best practice guideline for mobile device security last year, in which it recommends rebooting a phone every week as a way to stop hacking. King, an independent from Maine, says that rebooting his phone is now part of his weekly routine. He says he does it probably once a week whenever he thinks of it. Almost always in arm's reach, rarely turned off and holding huge stores of personal and sensitive data, cell phones have become top targets for hackers looking to steal text messages, contacts, photos, as well as track users' locations, and even secretly turn on their video and microphones. And not only that, and steal money from people's accounts. But the NSA's guide also acknowledges that rebooting a phone works only sometimes. The agency's guide for mobile devices has an even simpler piece of advice to really make sure hackers aren't secretly turning on your phone's camera or microphone to record you, but don't carry it with you. So again, just turn off your phone, reboot it once a week, and hopefully that'll help you guys. And next we have Simone Biles. She withdraws from an all-round gymnastics final at Olympics gymnast Simone Biles says she has decided to withdraw from the individual all-around final scheduled for Thursday at the Tokyo Olympics. The all-around sees gymnasts compete on balance beam, shoot the vault, uneven bars, and floor competition. Biles, 24, has not lost an all-around since 2013. USA Gymnastics said Biles withdrew because of a mental health issue in a statement to reporters. Well, there's a lot of them. We wholeheartedly support Simone's decision and applaud her bravery in prioritizing her well-being, the organization stated. Her courage shows yet again, while she is a role model for so many, the decision comes after Biles exited the gymnastics team finals on Tuesday. Biles said she feared that she would injure herself or others during that competition because she wasn't in the right mental space. Biles became lost in the air while competing on a vault, essentially becoming disoriented midway through the combination. I had no idea where I was at in the air, Biles said. I could have hurt myself. Biles had been widely referred to as the greatest gymnast of all time, and in May completed what is considered the most difficult vault combination ever attempted by a female gymnast. However, she has also been frank about feeling pressure coming into the Olympics. And that is it for your news today. I am Kim Seabrook. You're watching the Good Looking News on Millennium TV 24. Make sure to download the apps on your iPhone and your Android. Watch us on Roku TV. You can watch us on Apple TV, your Amazon Fire Stick. Just watch us everywhere. We're everywhere. So thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Again, I'm Kim Seabrook, Good Looking News, Millennium TV 24 News. Thank you.